can you tell us more about your firm's approach on working with clients and what you've done to make the experience like what we're talking about, like bring them along for the ride and setting proper expectations so that you have the proper boundaries to do your job and they also have enough information where they don't feel like they're in the dark?
Sure. So, a lot of this has changed in the age of COVID, and, I would hope that things will kind of go back to the old days at some point. Some of the things like, Zoom meetings or, telephone consults may just become more commonplace. But originally, what we used to do pre-COVID was, I always emphasized a direct in-person meeting to sign up the case. There were some exceptions. I mean, if the person was an hour away and it was a minor car wreck, we may have sent them the paperwork to electronically to sign and that kind of thing. But nowadays, I would say the vast majority of new client contacts are handled through Zoom or telephone conference, or paperwork signed electronically. And again, there's some exceptions to that, though. Bigger cases, it increases the importance, I think, for that in-person meeting. But I think having some contact and some interaction with an attorney early is important. I think it's one of the things that sets us apart from a lot of the large advertising firms where, the lawyer's got 200 cases and they may not ever, they may not know the client and it's just a file number to them. And, they may not get around to talking to the client until a month into the process. And when they do, it's literally just them reading some summary that somebody else wrote. So, for us, there's always some level of attorney involvement, regardless of the size of the case. And I think that's important to kind of get to know the client and to establish that rapport with them. And that helps develop trust and confidence. And that's key for everything in the case, is to making sure that they trust you and that they're, that you're looking out for them and their interest in doing those things. Then along the way, one of the things that we always emphasize is keeping the client informed. I mean, some things are just natural, in the progression of a case, like I need to call the client and ask them about this. I need to tell them this. But there's also periods in a case where there's a lull, if it's before a lawsuit's filed and the client's still treating, it's important to tell them at the beginning, this is what the process is going to involve. You're going to need to get treatment. We'll touch base with you periodically, at least once a month. Ask you how you're doing with your treatment. If you have any questions in the meantime, you can call us and ask us about it. But until you get done with medical treatment, we can't settle your case, because if we settle your case early, we can't go back later and ask for more money. Again, some exceptions to that depending on insurance limits and that kind of thing. But the bottom line is they need to know what's going on, because otherwise they're just going to the doctor. If they're going to the doctor for like the next 6 months, and they never hear from their lawyer, they're wondering, what's my lawyer doing? Or why isn't this case over yet? They may not necessarily know that we can't settle their case until the case is over, until they're done with treatment, unless we've told them that at the beginning. So again, setting the expectation at the beginning, we're big on that, big on giving them an overview of the process, big on keeping them updated as things go along. Then, in litigation, there's a flurry of activity at the beginning. There's, we got to answer discovery. So we've got to call them and get the answers. And then we've got to have their deposition. And we always meet with them and prepare them for it. And so there's a lot of interaction. And then again, there's a lull. And if you're just sitting around waiting for a trial date for a year or 2 years, it's important to talk to the client and let them know, because if they just don't hear from you for 2 years, they just think that you're not doing your job. When in reality, it may just be we're waiting on a trial date. And, we don't know when that will be. And that's also gotten worse. I mean, that's the other thing about the age of COVID is, there was just a massive backlog from that original shutdown that existed in 2020 that has kind of affected everything. And I think we'll see, again, kind of going forward. I mean, even here in Cobb County, the county that my office is in, jury trials were supposed to take place in January, and those got put off because of the Omicron variant. So, some of the things are outside of our control, but it's important to tell the client everything you're doing that is within your control so they can know you're pushing the case on.